got Leon and BC. I'm thinking let's go ahead and Julian, is Julian back on? Julian, I can see your logo, but I can't see you, Julian. Let's see if we can get you back.
Okay, let's see.
There we go. My man. Right. I got you. Yeah.
All right.
Well. So Leon and BC, you were in the gallery as we were kind of doing this first segment. First of all, thank you for taking the time, and I think we kind of at a high level was talking about really what it's going to take to kind of move us, but you two represent a unbelievable source of opportunities for people to stop talking about it, but being about it. As my friend Willie Barney always say, hey, stop talking about it, let's be about it, right? And so this is the chance to do that. So really, Julian, let's just jump in, because what I would like to do, maybe halfway in this, we're going to bring on Ernest White and Nicole Ryan and have them join us in this discussion as well, and especially that we're in kind of we've got about an hour to finish up this segment. So let's start with BC. BC, from what you've heard, what's resonating with you? You see a whole lot of startup businesses. People come to you, to Nebraska Enterprise Fund, for money. In this COVID-19 virus, what is the opportunities? Are you guys still giving money out during this time? So why don't you talk to us a little bit? Let's go ahead and unmute you. I know you're muted. Your sound is, there you go. There you go. Okay, I can hear you now.
It went back to mute, BC.
Wait a minute. Let's unmute you. There we go. There you go. You're unmuted now.
Okay, great. All right. Well, thanks again for having me on. And yes, I've seen a lot. So let me just kind of go back to COVID-19. Of course, we have capital, obviously. We have capital. So when I hear people say there's no capital, there is capital. But the thing is that, are they ready for the capital? Do they have what they need to be able to access?
You're talking about readiness. Readiness. Yeah, right. Okay.
And so
Anthony, talk about that.
Yeah. So when COVID happened, a lot of businesses, a lot of the really small micro businesses were in chaos. And most of our job was trying to take care of the emotional aspects of them being a business owner at the time, wondering what they would do. Mm-hmm. And for all of our clients, what we did actually for that first, when we first found out in March, we started offering deferments for up to 3 and 4 months for them to just to get organized, so that they wouldn't have to lose anything. So that was really key. But the whole thing that what we ended up doing as well was that a lot of them thought that they needed to close their business. But basically, they just needed to rethink. They needed to look at how they could make some different creativity. What products did they need to hold on to? What products did they need to get rid of? What services were really in demand that they hadn't thought about? And so for different industries, we were tasked with working in that arena for months, getting them to see something other than where they were, because a lot of them were stuck. So we had to say, what are the goals? What have you planned for the next 2 years, the next 1 year? And having them focus outside of the present situation, allow them to be able to think about some additional things they could do so that they wouldn't have to close their business. So that was the key.
Yeah, and that's pretty tough when you think about it. You have all this right in front of you, and really you got to look way beyond what's in front of you in terms of your future, and prepare for that as well. That's so important. Mm-hmm. So in terms of just what's resonating, we have Winsley Duran on as well. Leon, what's resonating with you with all of this, and the SBA? You're playing a significant part, with the money. A lot of money is passing through the Small Business Administration. But talk to us a little bit, and hopefully we'll be able to pull up on the screen there.
Tim, it's not only the money. We provided a lot of our resource partners the technical more money so they can go ahead and reach out to businesses, especially Nebraska Enterprise Fund. There's a Carl. There's certain things that they could do. Carl's the name of a program. You asked me to explain what Carl means, and it has to do with the additional technical assistance for businesses. Because one, what Tony and Robert said was true. You have to be ready. That's one of the things the Nebraska Enterprise Fund, all of our micro lenders, one of the things that we had for years in a problem here in Nebraska, we didn't have enough micro lenders to get a lot of the people started and the technical assistance to go with. And that is one of the biggest things that I've been preaching since I came here since 2007, and we made a significant difference in terms of being able to do that, to grow those resources, to help people become ready. You know, think about financial literacy. You know, too many of our kids and even adults don't understand financial literacy. They don't understand their financials, the accounting. So many of them, what really surprised me the last couple of months, how many people do not have a bank? They have no bank relationship. And that's why I think when Ernest comes on American National Bank, you know, this is one of those things that it surprised me. We had customers call me because they had no local community bank that they could deal with, no relationship.
No relationship.
So many of it's education, but you know, there's opportunity. You know, a lot of businesses that managed to successfully go through this, they still had a connection with their customer, but they didn't know how to go ahead and reach their customer. Tony Goins told me about a vape shop where they changed how they delivered product to individuals. Tony and a cigar bar and all of that. You know, they changed their model so people could still access what they were selling, maybe at a lower level. You know, you still have to go out and seek customers, and that is one of those things. You know, the financials. You know, we took care of a lot of that. You know, because of the program, the treasury, and everybody set up. But more importantly, that it's always that technical assistance, that learning. We want to get people to the point where they can take advantage of situations. Our biggest issues and failures that we see, people do not know how to potentially how to market, and secondly, it's relationships. They don't form relationships.
Well, what do you mean? What do you mean by not knowing how to market themselves, their business, their products? Or
they think people are just going to come to them and all of that.
Right.
They're just not out. Okay. They don't have a Facebook. They don't have all of their marketing materials, and you know, they don't know how. Well, many people don't know how to sell. That's right. one of those things that they're afraid to go ahead and ask for the business and collect money. This is some of the basic fundamentals of operating a business. We see great ideas and startups, but they cannot complete. That's one of the things. You know, we talked about building relationships and asking and developing that trust with customers in other businesses. That's so important. There's opportunities out there. You know, one of the great things that the Chamber has done is regarding the construction, and Nebraska Enterprise Fund has been involved with these contractors and all of that. That is a big thing. You get them up to a certain size, trust in the construction industry, especially when you're dealing with the major contractors, the primes, they depend. They're looking for that trust. There's opportunity there. There's money to be made in the trades, continuing to make trade. My next door neighbor was a garbage hauler. He made tremendous amount of money hauling trash. There is money in trash. There's money in trade, you know, and you don't have to all go to college. You just have to figure out, you know, what you can deliver and deliver best. Solve that problem from somebody else. Answer one of the questions. Kathy Hughes, probably one of the most successful women in radio when it comes to owning a radio station, originally from Omaha, correct?
That's right.
That's right. Yeah. I remember her.
Yeah.
I met her. She's an amazing woman. You know, we have stories here that are people who have done the hard things. Carmen Tapio will tell you about all the opportunities that she took advantage of. As she said, yes, it was hard. And now what she's doing and with her employees in that development, maybe one of the things that we have to look at is throughout the community, where are the relationships, not only community, but to our friends, where we could go ahead and leverage them to bring people on, internships and the rest of the thing, because you have to grow that. We have good examples of it that other individuals have done it in corporations. If you haven't talked to Lance Morgan and all that, Lance Morgan has done that with the Winnebago tribe. It's the exact formula that Robert Blackwell was talking about. Same thing.
Okay.
Let me, and I want to kind of ask a question here, and I want to loop Winsley in here with the Reach Initiative at the Greater Omaha Chamber. And I don't think people realize how long Winsley has been doing this. When I launched the Start Center, Winsley's one of the first people I went to just to get the lay of the land. And one of the things that was so profound to me was how many business owners, and a lot of our favorite businesses that we frequent, Tim, I think people don't know how many of those people Winsley helped get their businesses started. So Winsley, I want to throw something at you because BC mentioned something so important. When Tim talked about capital, she said, well, the question is, are people ready to access the capital? Some of the things we've seen at the Start Center for us dealing with this period in time, and I'm interested to hear your feedback. We feel like we're doing a good job educating, but seeing how much people struggle with this, for us, the emphasis was going back to educating them on their core values as entrepreneurs and really developing those skill sets to make the right decision. So as far as, you guys are doing a lot of great things with the Reach Initiative. What are some of the things you're seeing? What are some of the things you guys are telling entrepreneurs to do? And what advice are you kind of having for people that are listening that are trying to reposition or repivot their business, or even people that are trying to start up in this climate?
Well, that was a whole lot there. I will jump in on some of these.
I'll help you.
And, all right, thank you, BC. So I think that some of the key topics that some of our previous speakers have hit on, whether it's BC or Leon or our previous speakers, is preparedness, I think innovation, and having a whole business. So, when we take a look at, having a whole business, what does that mean? Well, Leon talked about, being able to market. Sometimes, our folks are really good at the specific trade, maybe not the rest of being a good business person. And BC had hit upon education. So with our Reach program, there's kind of three main components. One is education. Second is the connections. And the third is the access to capital. And within that, there's all sorts of subsets that go along with that. But folks really just, I guess another theme there is entrepreneurship is hard. It is not, there's a lot of people that have a misconception. And I think having the right expectations right out of the chute is essential. Mm-hmm. And in order to do that, I basically think that there's about 5 things that are key components. People need to have passion, to have knowledge, they need to have some connections, capital, and a plan that's based in reality. We often find that folks, when they jump into it, they may be a great tradesman, but they need to make sure that they're surrounding themselves not only during the execution, but just as importantly during the planning portion. Those folks, maybe it's a good accountant, an attorney, a strategic planner, and a marketing person. These are all aspects that if you leave one of them out, you're gonna, at the very least, have a tough time in a rough road. And at worst, you're going to be invested in this business and you're gonna take BC's money, squander it, and then now you're going to have a failed business and you still owe BC a whole lot of money. And so I think it is absolutely necessary for people to be prepared And I think that, again, that is a key thing that will probably go through this, this whole session is sometimes people say, oh, you know, there's a lack of capital. Well, Leon and BC know that there's not necessarily a lack of capital. There's a lack of people who are prepared to take advantage of the capital that's already out there and available for them.
Right.
They need to have the credit, a good business plan. There's just so many things that if prepared on the front end, things become so much easier.
Mm-hmm. And just to piggyback with you, Winsley, the other thing too is that what we found out, and I got to tell you, you know, working with over 300 and some clients, that a lot of them, a lot of their records were not in order. Their financials were not in order. So when the opportunity came around for them to be able to take advantage of PPP and EIDL, they weren't ready. They weren't prepared. And so that first round, most of them missed it. And we spent months doing technically working with all of them, training on PPP, training on EIDL, getting them their financials in order so that they could take advantage of it the next time around. And they were able to do that. But I think it also showed them how important their financials are and how important it is to have good records kept so that they could retrieve them fast and they can get things to, you know, to if they had to mail it off or whatever. Some people didn't even have their taxes for like last year or year before. So that was a big issue. And if you were a sole proprietor and didn't have employees when it came to the paycheck protection and your Schedule C wasn't done, you weren't eligible because you needed to have that Schedule C. So there was a lot of learning that happened with a lot of the businesses. Now, the other thing, and when I said that it was great for them for us to take them out of the present situation, because it allowed them to think about what they had not done. A lot of them did not have business plans. And when an interruption happened, you should have business resumption. So how do you get back into business once there's a pandemic or an interruption? A lot of people didn't have those. So, you know, for the last few months, we've been having workshops on business resumption. You know, what steps you need to take if there is, you know, a pandemic or a tornado or whatever, some disaster that happens in your business, so that you can get back to business as fast as you can. What are those key elements that are essential that you need to make sure you can get up and running before you open up? And so a lot of people never even thought about it. They started their business, they didn't have a business plan, but they started and they kept going. But there is a point, there is a strategy that you need to lose. I think one of the things was, you know, how do you get a business started now? Do you know that there has been I've seen over 25 to 80 businesses that have been started during this pandemic, because people had time to think about things. If they were working a side hustle and were making money, you know what, is this viable? And that's the first thing I say when you want to start a business in any kind of situation. Is it something viable? Will you be able to make money at it? You know, and then can you grow it? And what do you need to do that? And there are disciplines I think people just don't realize. So if you want to start your business, I think number one, you need to focus on that core business model, whatever that is that you want to do. And you need to be able to execute. You know, how many times you sit and say, I'm gonna, and you never do. And so a lot of times you have to get past those steps. But then you need a good team around you, a good team that can help you get to those areas and things that you don't already have. You know, without that core team that's helping you get to where you need to go, then you are stuck.
No.
But then, yes.
I was just going to say, BC, in terms of just, I hear you. Where might you suggest people that, you know, they don't have a team, where do they start in terms of building a team? And I do understand, it seems like out of this, you know, this pandemic came we unveiled a lot of things that were some shortcomings in terms of businesses. But what I'm hearing is through the chamber, through the reach, through the SBA, and through Nebraska Enterprise, that you have technical assistance programs that's going to help build some of those skills and build some of those things and resources.
Exactly.
So how might people, you know, how might they start? I mean, because we keep hearing relationship. And so, you know, just joining the chamber is not going to get it done. That's a start.
That
I mean,
is a
that's a
start.
good start. It's a great start. So don't mind they give them some practical
Yes.
things of what they can do.
Right, absolutely. And because of the pandemic, we're not able to network like we normally do, but we are networking on Zoom. If you haven't tried it, it's really great to meet tons of people. However, but I'm a habitual networker, so I can meet people in the grocery store. Anyway, that's even a key because sometimes you have to talk to someone else, right?
That's
So
right.
when we
That's
talked
right.
about not having a relationship with a banker, we have a workshop that helps you be able to go in because most people think that they have to have a relationship with the bank only when they need money. But do they even know that you can go in when you have an idea? You know, when you're trying to get that idea into a concept to find out if it's a viable, if it's something that they should go after. So developing those relationships early allows you that opportunity to be able to go in and sit and talk with that banker. And now you're all of a sudden you're going in and you're asking questions. They have great advice. They have suggestions. They can tell you what the market is in certain areas. They know that stuff. So before you say, "Oh, I don't know anyone," go and talk to a banker. Develop that relationship because it's going to be key at some point in that business startup, growth, expansion, whatever it's going to be. You're going to need a banker or some lender. So you're going to have to do that. The other thing is that you can go to the chamber. They have advice and suggestions and things as well. We specifically do technical assistance. That's one of our strengths is technical assistance, helping people work through a lot of those things, helping them meet other resources, and that's our tagline, you know. We have those businesses connect with the resources that they need. So the thing is that to look and see what resources are available. Where can I go? We have SCORE, we have the SBA, we have NBDC, we have the Nebraska Enterprise Fund. These are all resources that you can go to, develop relationship with each of them, and they'll introduce you to someone else. I mean, there's always resources. So don't be afraid or stay on the island and say, well, there's nobody to help me. Because you have to have some tenacity yourself. You have to be able to be confident in yourself, believe in what you're doing, and be able to go out and get what you need. Because it's not going to always come to you. It's not coming to you. You need to go out and make it. And if you don't see it, do you need to design it? I mean, we have to continually be thinking about where we're going and what we want to do. And that takes having a tribe, some people that other business owners that you can ask a question with. You can, I don't know, is it hard for you guys to develop a relationship? Because it's not for me.
Yeah, well, you got some people that are introverts. It is difficult. Maybe BC, they're in the wrong business, but it is difficult for some folks to develop relationships. But I think what you're saying, is maybe if that's your weakness, you got to build and put people around you to help you really, really with some of the weak areas. You don't want to be the person out there selling, and that's not your gift. Find somebody that can do that. But that's part of that team building. But one of the things, Julian, that I'm hearing, I don't know if you caught this, but man, it just seems like when I was starting my business and things like that, although there was some cash available, and actually I partnered with Nebraska Enterprise Fund when I went into on my first restaurant venture, but I'm hearing that there is once upon a time you hear that there's nobody, there's no resources, people don't want to give loans. Now there's some truth, and we're going to introduce Ernest White, and then we have Nicole Ryan coming on. But there's an initiative that just started in North Omaha, that's the Harvard Bank, but there's resources out there, and I think part of what I'm hearing, I don't know if you're picking up this too, Julian, is that it's about readiness. It's about, are you ready? There's plenty of resources out here, but it's just like you got to get ready.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. One of the things we did before we launched the Start Center, Tim, we spent about a year surveying the entrepreneurial landscape in Omaha. And one of the things we saw was it's not that there aren't resources, it's not that there aren't service providers. To your point that everyone's making, we saw that people were not prepared, but we wanted to understand what's driving those mentalities and those social paradigms that's keeping people from working through the barriers and going and getting access. And so I really honestly, I think, and this is going to sound very fundamental, and I always tell our entrepreneurs there's nothing fun about fundamentals, but to people that are listening and that are wanting to start or figuring out how to go to scale in their business, if you're listening to kind of the heart and soul of what people are saying, when we start talking about being prepared, when you hear BC start talking about the education aspect, different things, we're talking about really, do you understand the fundamental basics to starting up? And so, you know, one of the things I want to get into, and I just want to talk about this, and I really want people to kind of dive in because there's a number of things that drive this topic, but I really want to talk about this fear thing, and why so many, especially when you start getting into North Omaha, you start dealing with African American minority entrepreneurs that don't think their ideas have merit. They don't feel adequate enough to start up. They're afraid to start up. What are some of the things that we can tell them tonight? How can we get them to make that shift? Because I'm sure if all the service providers and you know, here, if we had a chance to really talk about it, this is really to us where the rubber meets the road. How do we get them to take action? How do we get them to get out of the fear? How do we get them to move beyond the barrier? They see the resources are here. So I know that this is going to help, but I want to see if some of our panelists will speak to some of the people right now that are listening. They know they have an idea. The idea has merit, but they don't know. They're scared as hell to start up in this climate. They were already scared before COVID. Now they're really scared.
Right.
What the heck do we say to them to get the light to click that they can do this?